So when you're dieting for a photo shoot or a show, it's understandable that you're going to have to probably take off quite a lot of body weight. Now, I just wanted to do a video to give you a rough idea of why you should stop focusing on that number from a day-to-day basis. Let's say you've got 18 weeks, and in that 18 weeks, you're thinking you've got to take off between 8 to 10 kilos, which is pretty doable and pretty common. Now, that will trend downward on a weekly basis by perhaps, let's say, 0.5 kilograms. And you might see across that week a fluctuation of, let's say, for example, you're at 55 kilos. Now, that 1 week, it might go up to 55.3, it might come down to 54.8, maybe 55.5, due to so many factors. So if you're stepping on the scales one day and you get this emotional reaction to a number and you become angry and frustrated because you're not seeing the number that you want, who says it needs to be that number? Do you get what I'm saying? So let's say, for example, you've hit a lower body session really hard on the Monday, and the next day, due to inflammation, it shoots up, weight shoots up by 0.4 of a kilo. And let's say you've noticed that trend for 4 weeks. You should then realize that once you hit lower body the next day, weight will trend upward because that's what naturally happens. So you then have logic and reason behind it. Now, let's take, for example, females. You may be perhaps switching from the follicular phase to the luteal phase, and upon ovulation, you might find, oh right, we actually gain a kilo, and then it trends back downward. Or in the lead up to our cycle, we gain half a kilo and it holds there for 10 days. And then when the cycle finishes, boom, we see a new low after 3 to 4 days. The amount of times I've said this to a female client over the past 5-6 years and it's came true has been unbelievable. And they always think I'm a magician or a wizard. And I say, it's just science, it's just logic, and it's just hormones. So try and dissociate yourself with this daily number and understand that it will come down, it has to come down, but when it does, we shouldn't celebrate like, oh yay, my weight's this. Who gives a fuck what your weight is, right? If you're standing in front of a camera, you want to be looking badass. You're not going to look back at that photo and think, oh, I weighed X amount then. No. You're going to look back and think, I worked really hard and I look badass and that's the physique that I wanted. If you're on stage, albeit if you have a weight limit, this might not be applicable, but for the most part, let's say you're a bikini girl, it's not a weight contest of who weighs the lightest. You know what I'm saying? It's about, right, who has well-developed glutes, lean legs, nice little waist, cap on the delt, femininity. If you're a bodybuilder that has got to hit a certain weight class, then of course, this video might not be applicable to you. But just remember that body weight is a small piece of the puzzle in regards to everything. If body weight is not trending downwards for a good couple of weeks, it's more than likely that you're not getting leaner and the energy balance has somewhat maintained, and you need to make an adjustment to your input or output, so your food or your cardio, your training, your steps, to get fat loss elicited again and to get driving into an energy deficit. On the flip side of that, the only occasion where you will see someone hold weight and get leaner is usually if they're an assisted individual. And by this, I'm talking about people that are prepping, that have lifted for years. If someone is using anabolics and they're perhaps playing about with their dosages throughout their prep, they might hold weight, hold fullness as they mobilize fat and look a little bit leaner, and their weight on the scales looks the same. That's just an example again of weight isn't everything. So if you are prepping this year, I hope that gives you a little bit more clarity on things. I hope it reduces any stress or frustration or angst you were feeling with that number on the scales, and I wish you well.